Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Can Startup Stories. This time we are celebrating Parent-preneurs, and this is one that we have wanted to do for a couple of years now, and we're so excited to finally bring you 5 dynamic, unique, diverse stories from entrepreneurs who are juggling that balance to do that best, the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship and parenthood. My name is Colin Weston. I am, as of a month ago, the former community leader for Startup Vancouver. Very exciting times because we have 2 new leaders who we're going to be introducing tonight. One is our host and MC for tonight. I'll introduce in a moment. And the other one is one of our 5 speakers. So, quick picture of me. I just wanted to show this because this is back 2 years ago. Remember when we used to go outside and we used to wear suits and dress up? Remember those days? Wow, I barely remember this. It seems like 200 years ago, but there we are. Maybe I'll get a suit on sometime soon. I even have a dressy collared shirt on today, which I feel kind of fancy. So yes, hopefully the suit will come out soon again when this COVID thing hopefully slows down even more over the next little while. So as we get started here, I did want to acknowledge that I am presenting and joining you this evening from the unceded traditional Coast Salish territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Hopefully all of you acknowledged and participated in our first National Truth and Reconciliation Day last week on the 30th of September. And we all want to be actionable also. So I just want to have one takeaway, one thing that I'm doing now, and you can see here this course done by the University of Alberta. So I've signed up and I'm just going to start this. It's a free course. So if you want to learn more about the history of Indigenous peoples in this country and also where we are going with reconciliation, I highly recommend this course. I'm taking it. I will put the link in the chat later for everyone there. But yes, very impactful stuff. And I encourage you all to participate in this so we can all learn more. Startup Vancouver, if you're not aware of us, we are one of almost 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. And Startup Canada is the voice for the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs. And we are very active on social media. So whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or our LinkedIn community page, that's where you can find us. And tonight we want to make this an interactive and engaging 2 hours of storytelling. So hey, if you're into the social media thing, if you want to do some live posting, I'm going to be doing some tonight. So please use the hashtag #CanStartupStories so we can then chart how many impressions we get. And hey, the more we amplify the signal, the more value it has for our 5 amazing speakers that are dedicating their time to share their stories with us tonight. We have 2 pillars, really kind of 2 kind of North Stars, if you will, with Startup Canada and also with Startup Vancouver. And the first one is to collaborate, not to compete. And a great example of this is my good friend, Paul Brassard, who I've known for about 5 years now, who is a managing partner at Volition. He's going to be sharing his story. And they do amazing work in the startup and innovation ecosystem. And one of the kind of the key things they do is with their pitch nights and their pitch events. And we've collaborated with them for years and look to collaborate even more in the future with them rather than us creating our own and competing with them. And that's what it's all about for us. And in that spirit of collaboration, we would not be able to bring you this event tonight without the support of our sponsor partners here tonight. So between Futurpreneur, Startup Fuel, SFU VentureLabs, who has been amazing over the last 3 years to present Van Startup Stories in venue at SFU VentureLabs in Vancouver, and now with our virtual events. And this is the 9th one we've done since COVID was thrust upon us about 18 months ago, and they have been amazing. We have Vivian and Maverick who are joining us tonight as the executive producers of this show. So we are on good hands here tonight. And also I want to acknowledge with Startup Canada and the Startup Community Empowerment Fund that is powered by MasterCard, Sovereign Insurance, and UPS Canada. So thank you all for that. And the other piece of our why and what we do is to make entrepreneurship welcoming and inviting for everyone. So no matter gender, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, tech or non-tech. We support everyone. And creating this Can Startup Stories speaker platform, it gives us this great opportunity to then showcase underrepresented communities, from LGBTQ entrepreneurs. We celebrated Black entrepreneurs 2 months ago. In November, we're going to be celebrating for the third year in a row Indigenous entrepreneurs. So please join us for that one. And also, we record these speaker series. So we always put each one of our speakers on our Startup Vancouver YouTube channel. So you can go back and view all of these talks there, and all the previous ones that we have done over the last couple of years. We want to make this 2 hours of interactive, engaging conversation. So anyone that's joining us today as an attendee, after each of our 5 speakers share their stories with us, which they get about 12 to 15 minutes each, there will be a Q&A that Kiara will be moderating as our MC, and we'll also be opening up the floor to questions from our audience. So please put those in the Q&A also if you have any questions for our speakers. And on that note, I did now want to introduce our MC for tonight. And Kiara Toselli is one of our community leaders that, there she is, that freshly minted. So her and Manoj Agarwal, so the two of them are taking over the reins for me, and I am so proud and so honored to have them take Startup Vancouver to the next level and write the next chapters in this story that I've helped be part of for the first 4 years. So not to worry, not that you would, but I'm not going away. I'm still going to be helping them out as an advisor wherever they need some help. But otherwise, I am turning the keys over to them, and I'm going to turn the keys for this evening now over to Kiara. So Kiara, welcome, and take it away.
Thank you very much, Colin. And first off, thank you for all your work that you've done with Startup Vancouver. You've done a really amazing job. So hello to everyone. My name is Kiara, your MC and co-leader of Startup Vancouver. I want to give a warm welcome, first off, to all of our speakers, and a warm welcome to every single one of you in the audience tonight. So I am going to go ahead and kick off today with our first speaker, who is Amy. So I'll give a brief background on Amy. So Amy is a founder, author, speaker, event, and podcast host. She is the CEO of Mixing Babies and Business, which was voted as one of Canada's top 100 recovery projects by Future of Good in 2020. Now, Amy could not join us live today for the presentation, but we do have a really great video presentation of her entrepreneurial journey that she has sent in that we will be presenting.
Excuse me, could you please hold my baby while I load my pitch deck? Is there a change table in the washroom? May I borrow your chair so that I can nurse my child? These are all questions I've asked complete strangers since becoming a parent over 5 years ago. Hi, my name is Amy. I'm a writer and founder of Mixing Babies and Business, and I've been bringing my children into business settings with me since they were a few weeks old. They're now aged 5 and 3, and I'm 6 months pregnant, expecting our third kid sometime around Christmas. So, as I was saying, I've been bringing them into business settings since they're a few weeks old, and this is not because I was told to or given permission, but because I never thought that I couldn't. As a freelance remote worker living overseas before becoming a parent, I was used to attending networking events solo and working from wherever. Once I became a parent, without family nearby or childcare that I felt that I could trust, I never thought twice about bringing my newborn with me everywhere, including into co-working spaces, startup accelerators, conferences, and even a job interview. When my first son was born, I signed up to a startup program for parents. From the time he was 7 weeks old until he was 4 months, I'd load up his diaper bag and my laptop in the stroller, and we'd take the train once a week across the city to the sessions. The only time I felt like I was learning how to balance as a parent-preneur was when I'd attempt to load him and his stroller from the platform onto the train safely, which I always ended up having to ask a stranger to assist me with. It's something I became more and more comfortable with over time, saying what I needed at the moment, asking for help, and learning how to receive it openly when it arrived. It was during these early months as a new parent that I also learned about how to complete a business model canvas, financing options for my business, and protecting my intellectual property. I also learned a lot by doing, as you'll see in these pictures. Did you know that you can attend a live workshop while changing your baby's diaper or feeding them if the moment calls for it? That you can pitch to potential investors or deliver a talk to a crowded room while baby wearing or rocking your child? That you can participate in a lunchtime meeting while breastfeeding, and others will offer to cut up your food so that you can eat too. If the building is accessible, you can wheel a stroller in and use it as a baby change table if the lack of facilities leaves you no other choice. That you can interview for a job with your toddler, spend half of the time trying to keep them away from all of the computer cords, and still get offered the role. Complete strangers will approach you to offer you their chair, grab you a coffee, or ask if there's anything that they can do to make you a bit more comfortable. I didn't know any of these things until I started entering business spaces with my kids. In articulating what I needed and learning how to question the way that things had traditionally been done, I became an accidental activist. For the most part, people agreed with me. I could and should bring my kids with me everywhere, but it wouldn't always be comfortable or easy. The tube stations would have stairs. We'd eat our breakfast at the early morning startup workshops that I would attend. They both would spit up at me on me during our meetings or pull at my hair while I was trying to do my elevator pitch. I've had to change my kids on floors, benches, sofas, tables, strollers, and the back of my car. We were never asked to leave. We just didn't always feel welcome. And I say we, but it was mainly me. I don't know how the kids felt because they were too little at the time. What started as an exercise in me validating a business idea gradually became more about the problems I was faced with most days as a parent-preneur. Why do parenthood and professional development feel like they have to be an either-or situation? Why does it seem like a special request to have a baby change area for families? Why are most in-person and virtual events planned during daycare, school drop-off, pickup, or bedtimes? How many people are we excluding when we don't address these questions? So I started to document my experiences with photos and blog posts, advocating for more inclusive corporate environments. I approached other parents at parks, libraries, and when I saw them at business events, I asked them how their own experiences had been to date. And you know what? They felt the same. The current programs and spaces aren't designed for them, so I decided to start creating my own. As a result, baby change tables have been installed in a local entrepreneurship space here in Ottawa. Parent-friendly professional development events have been hosted by me across the city, where I've set up these pop-up, you'll see in the middle photo, these pop-up children's play areas, and brought in guest speakers to host business workshops for parents. People have witnessed babies and toddlers crawling around play areas in these business incubator spaces, and the reaction has often been met with wide open gazes and disbelief, but then an acknowledgement of, hey, why didn't we have this before? Or why don't we have more of these kind of things? Audiences have seen that a guest speaker can still deliver a talk and sit on a panel alongside their baby and toddler, and the kids won't cry the entire time. So the far left photo is me presenting with my kids when they were not quite 3 and 1. And I'm happy to say they didn't cry the entire time. It didn't make strange and went very well. Like most adults at networking events, kids just need some snacks. New connections have been made, Messages have been shared and received. We need to create more inclusive business spaces and experiences for parents. I've always shown up as I am alongside my kids, but I haven't always felt balanced. There are many things I've done which I wouldn't recommend, but at the time, I wasn't aware that I could make a different choice. I've planned events on too little sleep and looked after other parents when I probably should have taken more naps with my baby. I've driven away from a meeting, leaving my stroller parked on the sidewalk, and didn't realize it until I was across the city and unpacking my kid in his car seat at home. I've sat through a business conference and client meetings while having a miscarriage because I was on a deadline. And tonight, I'm not able to attend this session live because I'm having a difficult pregnancy. And unfortunately, I was too ill to do the talk live, but I find that I'm constantly learning not so much about balance, but about how to honor my body, my own health and wellness, while also honoring my work commitments, while also honoring my parenting responsibilities and my needs as a parent. I've learned that you can keep showing up as you are in all of your parenting glory, but over the past few years, I've learned that the show doesn't always have to go on, or at least not as you thought it had to. While those are a few moments I can now reflect on a bit differently, I'm also proud of myself for achieving small changes for other parentpreneurs in the process. Since the pandemic has unfolded, these messages have been reverberating loud and clear. We need to support parents, their families, and the work that they do. There is no such thing as work-life balance. There are just tons of tiny choices we make to try to get through each and every day, doing the best we can as parents, employees, and entrepreneurs. I don't want to encourage you to seek out a balance which doesn't exist in the same way, shape, or form for every parent, because we are all unique with different family structures and individual needs. But we are all human, seeking connection, meaning, and possibly to make an impact while we're here. Don't self-reject, opt out, or exclude yourself from places because you think that you don't belong. Until public policy and private industry can meet the needs of people who want to pursue their professional goals alongside their families, it's up to you and I to create solutions, keep advocating for change, and showing up for ourselves and our kids as we are. I believe everyone deserves to design a life that works for them and their family. How can we make it easier to be more inclusive of parents in business settings? How can parents keep creating space for themselves and keep this conversation going? For those of you who are planning events or running a team, take time to consider the needs of people who are parents in your network. Are you asking people to trade their family time for early morning or late evening events or meetings, like this one held during the school pickup time, people's dinner time, or bedtime routine, depending on where you're joining us from Canada? Do you require all attendees in virtual meetings to turn their cameras and audios on? You could be putting others in an uncomfortable position if they're trying to simultaneously feed or look after kids at home. If you're back in the office and hosting in-person events, can your guests heat up baby food or formula? And do you have a private area or meeting room that's comfortable for nursing mothers to use if it's requested? Do you use accessible and gender-neutral washrooms? And if so, do they have signage and a baby change table? Flexible childcare is scarce, and offering it can improve participation amongst your event attendees and your guest speakers. Hopefully, by sharing these stories and suggestions with you today, it will encourage other parentpreneurs and businesses to continue testing them out. I've also created resources for parents navigating the corporate jungle with kids, including a newsletter, podcast, and events. You can visit mixingbabiesandbusiness.com to learn more. But for now, I just wanted to thank you for listening to part of my parenthood journey. and remind you that parenthood and professional development don't have to be mutually exclusive. Thanks for your time and for listening. Look after yourselves and keep showing up as you are.
Okay, that was a really great presentation. A lot of nuggets of wisdom in that presentation. I especially liked something that you had said, Amy, which was everyone deserves to design a life that works for them and their family. And I thought that was really, really powerful and something that resonates, I'm sure, with a lot of our speakers as well as a lot of our audience. So now it's time for a little bit of Q&A. Amy will be joining us live for a couple of questions here. So Amy, I invite you to turn on your mic and your camera. And anyone that would like to ask a question, feel free just to put it in the Q&A. Oh, hello, Amy. One thing that I wanted to ask you was, you did mention, there was that switch to the flexible workplace, obviously with the pandemic and all. So how has the flexible workplace changed, parent entrepreneurship and parents in the workplace in general?
So I've done remote work since about 2014, and the main difference I saw was people not having to add a disclaimer or ask for permission because everyone was in the same situation. So previously, you would have had to maybe feel like you had to have a reason to ask for a flexible work request or remote work request. And I did a presentation last year for parents about this and things that they could do to communicate better with their employer or their teams on what they need. And really, the main difference I've seen is people are getting more comfortable showing up as they are and not having to explain. You get on a call and you don't have to explain as much now. Sorry, my kids are screaming in the background, because everyone's in the same sort of position if they are a parent and they didn't have access to childcare or school.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely, an increase in parents and in moms in particular, maybe in the workplace and maybe going back into the workplace because of that flexibility and some of that remote work. So that's really great to see. So one other question I had here was, what would be one piece of advice to maybe parents who want to start their journey, but are maybe a little bit on edge with balancing work and life? What's one piece of advice you would like to give them?
So either starting their journey as parents or wanting to start their own business.
Both.
So I've had that kind of question before, and I'm afraid to answer from a parenting perspective, because you just never know what will happen. If you want to become a parent, go for it. You just, you can never predict what will happen though. But I really, maybe I was just stubborn or delusional, but I didn't really change a lot of things that I was doing when I became a parent. And joining that startup program really helped me. I met a lot of other parents who had, been a bit further along than me. I think we're definitely missing the village feel of other people helping each other out. And unfortunately, because we've been isolated now for a while, it's harder to create that or recreate that. So definitely try to create a network or join a network wherever you are. And if you see something advertised that you want to apply for, or, whether it's a funding opportunity or a program, but you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can make the session times, or I don't know if I meet the criteria, definitely reach out to the person who's running the program and schedule a conversation with them, or just show up like I did and don't ask for permission. But you just don't want to exclude yourself before other people have a chance to. So definitely don't apologize. And this is one of my kids coming in now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that was a great piece of advice. Show up authentically. Thank you so much. I think that's all the time we have for that. Thank you so much, Amy. I hope you feel better. Great.
Thanks.
So thanks, Amy.